Live. Hello.
We're live?
You're live. You're live. Enjoy.
We are
Hey,
live.
everybody. But we're not recording.
We're
We
recording.
will.
We're live.
Recording in progress.
Now we're recording. Hey, it's Jeff Pulver. If it's Monday, it's time for
Ask the Oracles.
and welcome back. And what a Monday it is. Oh my goodness. Monty and Amy, how are you doing? Sorry I was not here last week. I was taking care of my other stuff. How are things? How are you feeling?
Things are good. I mean, we had a little snow. That's about it.
A little snow, 2 feet,
2 feet.
and my hero took care of it.
Me and my trusty snowblower.
And I guess everyone's experienced a little Mercury retrograde
Yeah,
up
computer
and down
stuff.
here.
Yes.
So we're kind of rolling with technical difficulties here and there, but it's okay.
Yeah, we're working on a book. Amy is going over. We have a birthday book.
The karmic birthday
The
book,
karmic birthday book. Amy's
Wow.
gone on
I've
that
been-
one.
editing that, and then Monty's writing his new astrology book. So we're busy here,
Yeah,
having a little hot cocoa in between.
little keto cocoa. And we're how was Vaughn? How did that work out?
It turned out to be an exhilarating experience. I'm probably understating it. I totally felt the need to bring the people together to explore the future. And what ended up happening is over 254 people, as far as you can tell,
Wow.
joined us over the 3 days. It was it was really my universe, my overextended universe, plus people I just never knew before all came in. We had speakers from 8 different time zones, and we were all there experiencing it together. And I'm pretty sure that a few new companies were conceived last week based on the innovation and based on the opportunities that they saw. And I had an opportunity myself to debunk some of the hype associated with Web3, which I did. I did my best to provide clarity, and I see things now that I didn't see a week ago. And I'm really excited about that future.
And now you have Web 4. I mean, you're doing another Vaughn in April, right?
Well, I tested the waters with a summit. That's my way of testing the waters, and then I converted to a conference. It's meant to be every 6 months, and so it's a brand that I rebooted, and I saw a sign it was time to do so. So I did after 14 years of being silent, and I'm back into the heart of the future of where the communication space may go, and it's a lot of fun. And it's
Wait, Jeff,
yeah.
are you saying you had a wake-up call?
I had a wake-up call. I had a wake-up call in November that it was time to come forward to do that, and it was absolutely fascinating, and I'm just really, really excited about where the next steps take us. And so, yes, it was a wake-up call in November that time had come to do the event, and it's just I'm just beyond words. I think 2 things happened. Also, the format. I ended up doing almost only fireside chats, which I had never done at a conference before, but we had 30 or so fireside chats with people, which turned out to be probably some of the most engaging conversations I experienced personally. And it was
Wait about today, because today we're gonna have an amazing conversation with our wake up call expert,
Lytle.
Hi, Lytle.
Hi,
Welcome.
hi everybody. So
Welcome
good
back.
to see you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we
so
picked
happy
a-
to be here.
We picked this theme of wake-up calls, which I think everyone's experienced in some way or another, because I thought it's kind of perfect for the new moon in Aquarius, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Things that shake you up, that remind you what your calling is. They can be big or little, right? I think I've had some major wake-up calls in my life. You know what I was thinking? That Saturn transits are like major wake-up calls. It's like when I was 28, we have Saturn transits when we're around 28, when we're around 58.
Yeah, what Jeffrey was just saying about 14 years has been since he had the last Vaughn, which was a 7,000 people at the San Jose Convention Center. 14 years is approximately a Saturn opposition, and Saturn is the test. That's why every 7 years, when in law, if you're gone for 7 years, you can be declared dead. 7 is a big deal, and so it's the Saturn square. Things get tested, and you need a wake up call. And I was just noticing that today, here in the sky, the
It's
planet
National
Saturn.
Wake-up Call Day.
It's National Wake Up Call Day today, because I'm going to show you in a minute. I'm just going to get the old magnifier out. The planet Saturn that is that cross with the hook, and the dot in the center of the circle is the sun. They're 4 degrees away
Wow.
from each other in the wavy lines of Aquarius. And right now here in East Hampton, they're at the noon point. That's the top of the chart, is the noon point. So it's a good day to be talking about Saturnine wake-up calls, which is basically the same thing that our cat told us when I tried to contact him psychically. We're all sad.
Everyone knows about our cat Zane,
he
passed at age 21, which is a good long
Yeah, had a
life.
great long
But
life.
we miss him so much, he's contacting him psychically.
So I tried to contact him psychically, and I was expecting to hear, where's the food or where's the treats? and what I heard was, get to work.
That's very Saturn. So it really helps to focus on work. But Saturn conjunct the sun, really. And when you have a wake up call, you got to get to work. You got to do the work. You can't ignore what's going on. Lori, come into the conversation. What do you think about these turning points that we have?
Yeah, and I love, Amy, I love this topic because like when you first mentioned it to me, the idea of the wake up call, people see it as something kind of shocking or scary, this idea of if we don't pay attention to it, then something terrible could happen, right? I see it in a different way. I think the wake-up call is this wonderful invitation to reinvent yourself or take advantage of an opportunity, right? So a wake-up call doesn't have to be something sinister or indicating danger. It can be just this don't miss this opportunity, or there's more for you, that kind of thing, right? So
Yes.
rather than it being necessarily like, if you don't do this, something terrible is going to happen, to shift it the other way, that, wow, this is something that you don't want to miss.
I think it's a call for realignment lots
Yes.
of times.
Yeah.
And also it can be an epiphany. Like when we were all first introduced to tarot, it was like, wow, this is how I want to align my life, and learn more about it. It can be that kind of a wow moment also.
And Jeff, being one of the foremost wake-up callers in the world, who's always waking everybody up to stuff that's like 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a perfect topic for you, because the whole Vaughn thing is a wake-up call about Web3.
It's a wake-up call of Web3. It's really a wake-up call that we're now living in an age where I came up with 2 terms last week. One was a definition of what NFTs are, and I called that tech tofu, because NFTs take on a characteristic of depending upon.
That's great.
I love it.
So tech tofu is one, and the other thing was a revelation that people who talk crypto, who talk about blockchain, talk about programmable securities. It's part of their vernacular, and I realized we're going to be living in the age of programmable communications. That for the first time ever, we can actually legitimately decide who talks to us when and where and how, and consumers could actually be in charge of how the conversations come to them. And for everyone who's ever been upset with robocalls and spam texts and stuff, well, guess what? We're going to live in a moment where you can charge a fee. You say, you want to robocall me? Go ahead. I'm charging X. And I promise to stay on the phone for 90 seconds, a minute, whatever it is, and go ahead. But you basically set your price, and the calls can go through, or they'll never reach you ever again.
Hey, that sounds like universal basic income in this house. We could make like $1,000 a week. The amount of car warranty calls we get alone.
Well, it's one of those things which I've been looking for an easy solution for a long, long time. It's just those annoyances. Because 25 years into the internet revolution, it's harder to reach people, not easier. There was a time that people may have had a home phone in their living room, and you were calling a location. Now you're calling someone's pocket, which may or may not have power anymore, and you're not necessarily getting through. And we're now going to have a chance where the consumers can be empowered, because one of those big Web3 concepts of decentralization and power to the people is that when it comes to conversations, yes, we can empower consumers to decide their communication future. And so I got all of that by listening to the people who spoke at the conference.
It's really interesting to me because, by British law, the Queen of England or the King of England has to sign their own death certificate. If they get condemned to death, the law requires them to actually sign it. And with all these gigantic corporations, saying, yeah, Web3 is coming. What you're saying is they're actually sort of signing their death certificate in the sense that they've been so top down all these years, and now it's going to be consumer up.
I think it will be consumer up. It may not be a tomorrow consumer up thing, but I think 5 years from now, 10 years from now, the opportunities are there, which means, once again, my 3 favorite words: fear, greed, and disruption, and leading to power to the people has appeared once again.
So
And
people have to have a wake up call that we have more power than we think we do, because we've been kind of disempowered.
Oh, kind of. I mean, really, I mean, the fact that you can't go anywhere you want to go in the United States of America, where my father and grandfather fought and risked dying, and that now it's, we've gone from land of the free to show me your papers. I mean, it has to change. It absolutely has to change,
Well,
because if it's only going to get worse.
We, the people, have to make the change in ourselves or whatever. But I think those are wake up calls, right? We absorb a certain amount of information, and all of a sudden we might see the light. And then you have to decide what to do about these wake up calls. Lori,
Yeah.
When you do readings for people, can you see those kind of turning points?
Yeah, because I think this conversation about technology is really interesting, but like another planet for me, right? And so I'm kind of trying to store it away, how it can be useful for me, because it's good information. Because I'm equating everything back to my little deck of cards, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
I'm
old school technology, right? Powerful, but old school technology.
Well, Tarot was the first search engine, right, Lori? I mean, Tarot was
everything is in. It's a database that has every human experience in it, right? The cards.
Well, you're very right brain. I mean, technology is very left brain.
Okay.
So there's a merging, and that's why it's creative now, because we can merge these two ways of being and learning and sharing.
Yeah, fascinating. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So,
well, I mean, it comes back to the best way to predict the future is create it, and that's why futurists like Jeff are actually creating the future.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Monty, that takes me right back to the cards, right? Because that's the way that, like, talking about reading the cards, like in our topic there about the idea of the wake-up call. And I'm just so conscious of how Canadian I just sounded right there about. I thought try to keep that in check there.
We love Canadians. Canadians are the
everybody
future.
Loves Canadians, right? Everybody loves Canadian. But now I lost track of what I was saying there. Yeah.
I love the flag with the goose on it that says "Please leave me alone," as opposed to "Don't
please,
shut up."
I'm sorry if I disturbed you, or we're all very polite. But so getting back to the cards, so that is, I was thinking about it in preparation for our time together today, trying to think if there are particular tarot cards that suggest to me that wake-up call, right? And of course there are some that are very overt, right? Ooh.
We like this one.
Judgment.
Yeah, of course, right? Number 1 wake-up call. I was exactly right, same. So this to me is the cosmic wake-up call, right? The opportunity to free yourself, to stop making yourself small and rise up and follow your purpose, right? And so it's kind of difficult sometimes for people to translate this card into their daily lives, right? Because it's big, right? When it comes up in a reading, that's the big wake-up call. And how do you make sense of it in your daily life, right? But as I was thinking about, like, to me, Judgment and the Tower, those are the big wake-up call cards, right? The more I looked through the deck and the more I thought about it, like every single tarot card is a wake-up call card, right?
Good point.
Especially
that's what a tarot reading is, right? Like, it's, to me, the wake-up call is like, anyway, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but I think most of us don't see ourselves the way we really are. Like, Amy, what you're saying before, like, we don't know our own power. We don't recognize it, So the cards can be that wake-up call where it's like, have a look at yourself as you really are, how powerful you are, how talented you are, how you may be holding yourself back. So depending on the context of the reading, every single tarot card is, if you're willing to look at it, is a wake-up call. That can be a very positive force, right?
Yeah, because how are you going to use that knowledge, that opportunity, that gift in the card, which makes us grow which is basically why we're here and interested in learning about ourselves and other people. I mean, that's the beauty of people that are interested in oracles and the tarot. As you say, all of life is in there. So we're learning about all these different aspects. And yeah, it can be a daily little, light that goes off, when we learn something new about a person or about a situation.
Yeah.
And then there's the crisis, the tower times in our lives when
Yeah.
it's a do or die, you better get your shit together
Yeah.
or else. Sometimes we let it get to that point, right?
And that's the thing, like I'm repeating myself here, but that's to me the powerful thing about the cards is like, if the tower comes up for you in a reading, it's giving you that wake up call that you have a decision to make. Are you going to let that tower blow and deal with the consequences? It may be necessary, right? And it may be a heads up or a wake up call, but it may also be a wake up call in the sense of like, do you really need to let it get to that tower point? Right? Is there something that you can do to navigate that? So, I mean, to me, the cards can make you aware of all these situations, and then you get to decide either are you going to navigate or mitigate it, or if it's just something that's going to happen, what are you going to do with it? Right?
Yes. And back to creativity, I think, a lot of us are open to those moments because those are exciting moments. When you let an inspiration come in, and then are you really going to help yourself manifest it, or, meet the person that's going to help you manifest it? Those are exciting moments and not so scary.
This is a moment when there's a baby being born today. That is an awesome critter, let me tell you. Because look over here. We have Mercury and Pluto right next to each other in Capricorn, and Pluto is right next to the moon, and the moon goes 14 degrees a day, but they're close. Moon is in Aquarius because we're coming up on a new moon. So it's check right in time.
Yes, for everybody, this new moon tomorrow is a good time to make a wish for what you want to manifest. If you've had a wake up call that you want to bring something into reality, or a dream that you want to help, that's your goal. This is a perfect time tomorrow.
Yeah.
We always love our check writing ritual.
Yeah, and for the date, I know some people don't have checks, but you make a
pretend check. You write divine order in the corner for the date, and you sign it the law of abundance and write all your wishes on the check, and then put it on your altar or under.
And you can write on the back of it too. And then
crystal on it.
And then at the end of at the full moon, you burn it in a very safe container. Everybody, legal disclaimers up the wazoo. And you burn it basically in your fireplace with the fire department outside, as if you're doing a special effects thing for a movie.
Safe magic. We're all about safe magic.
Safe magic. Jeffrey, so you're creating the future again in April with Vaughn?
Exploring the future again, April 25th to the 27th, embracing creativity, opportunity, innovation, and again, debunking the hype and looking for ways to make the future happen, and for people who want to help create it. But one of the things about wake-up calls is learning to listen to yourself and identifying the wake-up calls and realizing it's a wake-up call. I had a
it's a wake-up call, and it's not a what?
Well, look, I back
fake wake-up call.
I went on a weight loss journey. I got rid of 57 kilos. I called it outsourcing as opposed to losing weight, because when you lose something, sometimes finds you, as I found out. But if you outsource it, usually goes. And I got into such fantastic shape. I got down to minimal body fat, and I took it so seriously that I was in Israel to run in my first ever 10K. This was October 28th, 2014, after getting rid of 57 kilos. And 7 hours before the race, literally, I was on the beach having lunch with a friend of mine. All of a sudden, I had a seizure.
Yes, I remember.
So dramatic, and I was so effing strong that but just sitting down, I had enough strength to dislocate my right shoulder, fracture 3 bones in my shoulder, and tear 7 muscles off my bones, which left me in PT for over 10 months. And it turned out that I suffered from dehydration and low electrolytes, because while I was taking care of myself and getting rid of the weight, I wasn't balancing my health. I went to the extremes. I used to tell people I worked out. I never told people I worked out 7 days a week. I used to tell people I went for runs 3 days a week. No. I did it probably every day. and I did it for much longer times because I didn't want anyone to know how obsessed I truly was.
Ah, you were like an
Well,
anorexic.
do you think you're an extremist in general?
I'm sorry, say again.
Do you think you're an extremist in general?
Oh,
And
I definitely, there are times when I go all in or I'm not in at all. I don't know that balancing part. So it's a challenge, but that was a physical wake up call.
yes,
It
Yeah.
didn't matter
Yeah,
that
yeah.
everyone told me, gee, Jeff, you're too thin, you're too this, too that. I just ignored everybody. It took a lot of strength, literally, to come back. And I'm happy I did. I just took a different approach to living because I realized living was important. I'll deal with my weight. I'll deal with the what I need to do to balance my body chemistry. And I'm grateful to be alive, and I'm grateful to be here today. But that was
Yeah.
a wake up call.
That's a serious
That's
wake up
a-
call.
Yeah,
very
yeah.
serious.
Yeah.
I had, when I was a young woman, I used to have anxiety attacks, and that was a wake up call for me to really understand how the mind was connected to the body. It took me on a journey of a very holistic journey that really changed my life. So I really see that it was such a positive thing, that started out as a scary thing.
Lori, are Canadians allowed to talk about their wake up calls, or is that impolite?
That rude.
We're allowed to talk about it as long as
Okay,
we do
good.
it in a tactful and diplomatic
and-
way. Yeah.
and don't scare anybody. It wasn't
No,
that
it doesn't.
bad.
No. We're not timid. We're not timid here in Canada. We
Not at all. I'm
we
not
face the
saying that.
dark
I'm just
things
saying
here
you're very,
too.
very polite. You're like the people in New Zealand. They're so polite.
Well, and I think how can I say, I don't want to speak for all Canadians here, right? Because we are all
You
we
can.
are all different here, but I think that's speaking for myself only, right? As a Canadian and as a tarot reader, like that's my approach to the cards too, is like I can give, how can I say, I can give my clients a wake up call, but it doesn't have to be like a punch in the face kind of wake up call. It could be the kind of wake up call that maybe comes in a way that can be received and worked with, rather that's just my style, right? So I'm going to tell them if there's a tower in the works there, I'm going to communicate that. But I like to be able to communicate information to people in a way that they can receive it and work with it rather than
Yes.
it being terrifying or, being complete overwhelm or something, right?
No, it's true. I mean,
I'm with you. Yeah.
when
I
I'm-
tough love tarot readings.
to me, the death card is the ultimate wake up call card.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, in Buddhism, the Buddha has said that if you the meditation on death is the highest meditation because it reminds you, sort of puts everything, it sorts everything
In
into the
perspective,
order
right?
of what's
Yeah.
important and what's not important.
Yeah.
And when I get the death card and when I'm reading for someone else, I always say, look, I've gotten this card 100 times. I'm still alive. One day I won't be,
Yeah.
but
Well, you use humor to make it calmer,
Yes.
more
Yeah.
acceptable.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
the truth of the matter is we're all here. We're all whistling past the graveyard. We're all trying to make the best of the bad situation in the sense that we all die. And it's a great situation because life is wonderful.
Now, a lot of people getting sober, that's like a major wake up call. We probably all have people in our families, that have been challenged with addictions, and, you really can't make them have that wake up call. It's a very personal thing. But sometimes when people change, say they stop drinking or something major like that, people move away from them. They're not
Yep.
used to the new
Yeah.
person that has woken up in a new way.
And the person themselves too has to kind of get used to who they are now, right?
Yes,
Like
yes.
that's
100%
it,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
1981 is when I sort of gave up the musician's life. Amy had given it up a couple of years
Was that
before.
like 40 years ago?
Don't remind me. But what happened is she gave me the wake up call. She said I was losing her, and that was the end of it. I stopped right then.
Oh,
She
wow.
wrote me a note, and I just was like, you know what, this is bullshit.
You did it on your own.
I did it on my own, but I think things like the anonymous things and the 12-step programs, if they
Whatever you
work,
need,
whatever
yeah.
you work. What worked for me was eating roast beef and chocolate in the morning for breakfast. and that was enough of a jolt to get me going for the rest of the day. But Jeffrey, you're back now,
I am back, but I have to go disappear. I have to take care of some magic of the future. I'll be back here in a few moments.
Okay.
We're now going to make
We'll
Jeffrey
carry on.
disappear. Watch this here. Oh, that's the oracle.
He'll come back as a new person.
He'll come right. As long as he has the hat, then I'll recognize him.
What about situations when you have a wake-up call about a person? I'd say you thought
You mean you
you
find
thought you
out?
were on the same page, or you thought you could trust them. It turns out you couldn't.
Well, there's a big difference between on the same page and you thought you could trust
I'm
them.
trying to think of examples offhand.
Well, no, but the thing is, yeah, I think it's the trust thing is a bigger thing that because I don't
Okay, you
expect
put your
anybody
trust
to
in
be on my
somebody.
page.
You put your trust in someone, and all of a sudden you feel betrayed. That's a wake-up call.
Oh, yeah.
What are you
And I
gonna do
think,
about it? Yeah.
and that is, Amy, that's so often like, it doesn't have to be a relationship that's a romantic one, right? But oftentimes, of course,
Yes.
that's what people are coming to us for, right? And I think as a tarot reader, it's like if somebody's coming to you for a reading about just what you described, they already know what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like they're coming to you either for hope that you're going to show them something different, or
Yeah.
more often than not, our role is to put up that mirror and go, what, like your gut is speaking truly to you, right? And so
Yes.
I think the wake-up call, like the tarot reader can be coming into the picture after the wake-up call. As you said, the person has a wake-up call, but then they don't want to believe it, or they don't want to see it, or they don't know what to do with it. So then the cards can help you to make sense of it,
Yes.
confirm it in your heart, or decide what you're going to do with that, right? So I think, the cards can be that wake-up call, or they can be what you turn to after you've had that revelation to make sense of it all, right?
Well, I think it is important to share somewhat either with a confident, somebody that you can trust, like yourself, a consultant or a reader, to share your wake-up call, because if you're keeping it inside, you might think, is this really as big a deal as I think? Or is this really something I can, use and make it into something, an important chapter in my life?
Exactly.
Well,
I mean, that's what the cards are like. That's to me, they, just as you said, it's like to me, the cards are this tool that helps you make sense of stuff, right? Rather than just telling you what's going to happen, yes or no, or what's this person thinking or feeling. Like the cards can be this wonderful sacred space where you have peace and quiet and time just for you to understand that wake-up call and to vocalize it and share it with someone, and then get excited about what you're going to do about it, or that kind of thing, right?
Yes, absolutely. It helps you articulate it in a new way instead of just feeling it. But let's talk about some ways that wake-up calls appear, because sometimes they come in dreams, right?
They do. But we're getting some really interesting questions in the chat.
Well, I just saw Susanna said her house burned down. That was like
Oh,
a major talk about wake-up call.
Well, I want to come back to, there was a philosopher named Gurdjieff, and he said to get well, you got to know you're sick. And so to know you're having a wake-up call, you got to know you're asleep. So I think we're always getting wake-up calls from our subconscious, from our higher self all the time. In my own case, when people go to alternative healers, there's something, what is it called, where they hold your arm out, and if it goes down,
Right.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
We're just going to test your arm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, muscle testing.
Muscle testing, yeah.
Well, I would like to remind everybody here that the next time you drop something, or you don't grip it right, be aware of what you were thinking when you did that, because that is a wake-up call.
Interesting.
Especially if it's something you do all the time, and if you drop a dish or you drop a
Hit your
fork,
head.
hit your head is a big one for me because I'm tall. I think that if you're getting a karmic lesson right away, and the closer spiritual people get their karma faster. When I say spiritual,
Well,
I
because
guess
you're more open.
aware.
You're more open to the signs and the symbols, right? So
Right.
they come at you.
Right. So
Well, and Monty, I find like if you don't listen to it, the universe amps it up for you, right?
exactly.
Like you might
that's
have a
solid.
little knock on the head, but if you don't pay attention to it, it's going to get bigger and bigger. And if you don't listen to these messages during the day, your dreams are going to get wild, right? Like, so it's always good if you, just as you said, Monty, if you can have that awareness of yourself and of that wake-up call and address it before it becomes something that's really painful or just
No, 100%.
like listen to the little knock right before it becomes the the kick in
Exactly.
the pants, so to speak,
Yes.
right?
If I have I drop a cup or something breaks or whatever, I'm like, thank God it's not my car while I'm on the middle of the road or somebody's
Right?
smashing
Yeah.
into me, because something's trying to tell me something. If you're like a first person, Native American, whatever you want to call it, they would go outside wherever in the morning and look at the birds and the wind and the leaves and
See what's up in the energy.
what's
right?
the energy trying to tell me today? Not to think I'm so cool, I'll tell the energy what to do, but to see what the world is trying to tell you. And I think that's a
Yeah.
major wake-up call in itself.
Yeah.
Barrett's funny. He said,
Yeah.
I must get a lot of wake-up calls. Are you a klutz?
It's such a great word.
Well, and that makes me think too, like Monty, what you're saying is like, when I am inviting that wake up call, or way to invite that wake up call is with even just pulling a card, your card of the day or
Yes.
card of the morning, just what you described, the same process, but leaving it open and just saying, what do I need to see right now?
Yes.
Right? And because then if you have a question that's too limiting or too tight, then it's, as you say, if you don't know you're sick, you can't get well, right? So if you don't know
Yeah.
the right question to ask, but if you ask that, what do I need to see right now? Then you're going to maybe be surprised.
And it's respectful to the universe, because you're saying, universe, I know you're there.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I love
forces,
that.
I don't feel like you're trying to destroy me. No, in a way they are. But it's like saying, universe,
Eventually.
yeah, it's just sort of like trying to fool the universe. Oh, you're so nice to me, and I'll engage you in conversation. But it's good to acknowledge what the human condition really is. There's a book called The Nature of Personal Reality, and I just like the title. It's one of the Seth Speaks books.
Okay.
From the 70s.
From
yeah.
the 70s. It talks about how you create your own reality, but you don't really create it. But there
It's
is
a dance. It's a dance with the
Exactly.
universe. So
Oh, I
yeah, we
love
try
that.
to use whatever way we can read what's going on preventatively, hopefully, and about other people to read their energies also, so that there's better communication, better choices.
The wake-up calls are coming fast and furious all the time.
So if somebody wants to know what the wake-up call for the United States is because of the Pluto return,
well, we're in it right now.
you can feel it, right?
Yeah, I mean, as I said the other day, if no one's, until everybody's free, no one's free. So I think the Pluto return in the United States is, guess what? You got a great constitution. What did Ben Franklin or somebody said? You have a great democracy if you can keep it. I think the United States has to live up to its promise. Everybody's got to be an equal citizen, or else no one
Spoken
is.
like a true Aquarian, right?
Right.
So we're all going to experience it, I guess, through our own, personalities, our own charts. Like an Aries, I always want something new. Like get on with it, get to the next level, please.
Freedom. The United States is all about freedom, but you got to remember, the United States was born from revolution. So and Canada was too polite to revolt. You got your freedom anyway, which is so lovely, actually.
Oh, we got our own problems up here. We've got our own
There's always
issues too.
problems.
There's always problems.
There's always
Yeah.
problems in people's lives and in countries and
Yeah.
all of that. But yeah, how do we can only do our individual part, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this show
To walk
is
our
our thing. I mean,
Yeah, I
having
think we all
people.
have a wake-up call to walk our talk. You
Yeah.
can't just
That's a
talk,
big one,
do
right?
the walk.
That's a
Yeah.
big one.
Oh my God! Because
Yeah.
when you stumble, when you're walking your talk, that's the wake-up call, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's a great example of a wake up call is like, stop talking so much, like stop talking a bunch of stuff, meaningless stuff and do the thing that needs to be
Right.
done. Right. That
Exactly.
can be the wake up call. It's like, just stop kidding yourself and do the thing. instead
That's
of
why
talking
Amy and I
about
are
it.
announcing our candidacy for president of the United States, and we're going to
Finally, finally,
we're going to run it as a couple
co-presidency. I love it.
presidency, and
Don't toy with us here.
And you've also seen the end of our campaign here on Asking Oracles.
Hey, I think in good relationships, you are a wake-up caller for the other person.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
A wake-up
Yeah.
caller.
Yeah.
Wow. Our first wake-up caller today is. Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
I think everybody here knows exactly what a wake-up call is.
Who's
Yeah.
saying?
Well, everybody's experienced it, right? Of course.
I'm just reading some of the chats. So somebody said
Hmm.
that I don't know why I can't see everybody. All the
I'm sorry.
chat.
I must have done something. Was that? I'm trying to be very Canadian.
Amy, what can I read for you? Whose did you miss?
Somebody that was talking about their own personal wake-up call.
Okay, so there was Let's see.
Which one? Burning down
Annette
the
talked
building?
about hers, that she just realized that she,
Oh, Susan said
Susan.
she uses muscle testing for their health, and
right.
Right,
And-
exactly.
if she's weak in something, she takes note. That's an excellent thing to do.
Right. And well, I think that when you drop something or you don't grip something right, or you don't do something that you've done 1,000 times right, that's a wake up call. That's muscle testing telling you something.
And Barrett said when his ex left, that was a wake up call to start studying tarot.
Oh, wow.
My wake up call was realizing that I was asleep on skids. I was living on the skids and sleeping.
That's right.
When I
You
was
started chanting.
homeless, I started chanting Namo Yo Ringe Kyo. And then after a couple hours of that, I realized maybe I should better get a job. And so that once again, get to work. My cat was talking to me years before I even existed.
Well, sometimes we procrastinate with our wake up calls.
Yeah. Well, and I
Luckily-
think like getting to that, back to that judgment card too, like we procrastinate when things are really big oftentimes, right? Like
Yeah.
that judgment card, it's huge. It's an
Yeah.
opportunity to even saying something like live in alignment with your purpose, what you're here to do. And so you can respond to that like, yay, finally, it's wonderful. But most of us are kind of like, wait a minute, how's that going to change who I am and how I operate in the world? And so that procrastination, I think oftentimes the bigger the wake up call, the reaction to it is.
Well, it's true
commensurate
because it
with it,
is
right?
going to change your life. It's a well accepted fact that in screenwriting or in a lot of creative projects, people don't finish. And the reason they don't finish is because once you're finished, A, you get judged. B, you
Yeah,
got to think
yeah.
about what you're going to do next. And you've been bullshitting about this thing for so long. And you're going to have to get a new story. It's stuff like that. Meanwhile, and people don't have confidence in themselves.
Also, if you say, this is the judgment card, now's the time you have to do it.
Yeah.
That scares people.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
how are they going to do it?
Yeah.
What happens when they do it?
Right.
Can they do it?
And then you have people like Amy who doesn't like to leave anything unfinished. And they say that about Aries, that they do leave things unfinished. There's nothing unfinished in our house. And because we finish
Except
everything.
cleaning my closet.
Well, except cleaning the closets. That's true.
I think I have a wake up call there coming soon.
I think we could supply everybody here with all the clothes they need for the rest of their life.
Oh, okay.
If you like purple,
Oh, yeah.
welcome back, Jeff Pulver. Now back on Ask
Oh,
the
he's
Oracle.
back.
But he's back muted? No.
I'm unmuted.
Well, Michelle Marie, homelessness was your wake up call too.
Oh my God. Oh,
You,
that's
you
right.
and Monty have a lot in common.
Well, you have your moon in Aquarius in the Western astrology, as I recall. Though I don't see
something
her.
that you don't like that's gone on too long. You tends to light a fire to make some sort of change, right?
Right.
But it's amazing how some people are so stoic and deal with something for so long. Calling all tourists.
Right, especially Moon, Jupiter, Taurus conjunctions. They'd rather keep going than switch.
We're always like saying that about tourists.
I know, they'll get me one day. That's okay. I got big shoulders. I could take it. But
If you
you
guys have any questions about this conversation,
you have the
that's
wake
good.
up call, and then you have the grain of sand that produces the oyster.
irritation.
Not the oyster. It
Little
produces the pearl.
pearl in the
What is the
oyster,
pearl?
right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Those little irritations that add up.
Yeah, but the wake up, if you're looking for the wake up call, you'll find it. I think that's really it. That's about mindfulness, right? So the wake up call is about mindfulness.
Jeff, did you have a wake up call since we saw you 5 minutes ago?
Yeah, my wake up calls. I have to watch tech that's evolving in front of me because I do not know what's happening on Twitter Spaces right now. I am a fish out of water, so that was an awareness build. Also, I think with the wake up calls is the problem of denial.
Mhm, mhm.
Yes.
The universe does a lot to actually bring forward awareness, but if we're not willing to or able to accept it or hear or receive, denial is a big challenge. And it's like, how do you set yourself up? Because one of the biggest challenges I find with wellness, and for that matter, self-love, it's one thing to tell people to breathe, to take the time for yourself, but individuals need to understand that too. That we could love and care about people, but they have to be ready to receive the message and they're ready to act accordingly and to have confidence that this is their moment. And so that's that's a hard part, because you could be giving a reading, you'd be giving exactly what they need to know, but not everyone's ready to hear those words, even though they're there to hear you. They're not ready to take that impact on themselves.
We were on a
Very
radio
true.
show yesterday, and that was very clear with somebody that kept asking the same question about somebody coming back into their life. We were giving such specific answers, but then it wasn't what they wanted to hear. Yeah.
Right. And that's the challenge, right? So they're rejecting what the truth might be, looking for the alternative when the alternative is just not present. So ready to receive the answer. So it would beware of the question, the answer, because if you're going to ask a question, particularly one that's going to be a wake-up call, be prepared to receive it and not
I
deny.
think that's what's hard, people that live with people that have addictions, and you have to wait for them to reach their own bottom or whatever is going to facilitate a change. That's hard for somebody to stay out of, right? Because
Yeah.
it is such an individual experience. What is going to be the catalyst to make somebody change or grow?
She's looking at me.
I'm-
Lori, save me.
I don't think, no, I'm with Amy. I'm 100% always with Amy there. So yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. I got her back. And when you're talking to it, I was thinking about along those lines too. There's denial, but then there's also people that have this, people who often come for a tarot reading, they have this feeling that they're missing something, that
Yeah.
there's something bigger, that there is something else, but they have no idea what that is, or they can't receive it, right? And
Yeah.
so that leads to that feeling that maybe they're blocking the wake-up call in some way, or maybe the timing isn't right or something. But I think that comes up a lot too, where people either they are really waiting for something more, or the wake-up call is that they don't see what they already have to work with, or who they don't see themselves, right? But I often find that the wake-up call is going to come in response to that feeling of confusion or longing, right? That I know there's more, but I can't see what it is, right? Until that wake-up call comes in loud and clear. So
I was going to say, as a former bodyguard in the movie business, I got to work with a lot of famous people, and for
some Canadians.
and some Canadians like Michael J. Fox, who I lived with every day for 3.5 months. So I find, and this is important for people who think that their life is not enough, they have problems. They just have different problems.
yeah,
They have the same problem. They all have family. They all have this. Even if they're adopted, they all have something. So it's thinking that somebody's having a more exciting life than you is ridiculous, because a lot of people with these exciting lives, it's a little too exciting.
There was
yeah.
somebody big in the news. I can't think of her name, but she was Miss USA, gorgeous person,
I saw
also a
that.
lawyer.
That must be mental illness,
A
because she killed herself.
she killed herself, and everyone's saying like this person had everything. They looked perfect, they were smart, they were successful. How could that happen?
But you don't know. You got to walk a mile in her shoes.
That's right. That is
Well, I
right.
mean, it points out, and they always say this about suicide, how you have to reach out in
Yes.
some way, or feel comfortable or safe to reach out to somebody, that if you're having, such a crisis, but hopefully, you can have a wake-up call before that crisis happens.
Yeah, and especially when you're jumping out the window and there's people down below. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
little selfish. But that's, I guess, if you're at that point, you're not thinking about that. You're a
No,
little crazy.
they want to escape the pain.
My grandmother on my mother's side hung herself. So I know that suicide is an issue, and a lot of people, and it ruins the people's lives of the people. But what
that are
can you
left, yeah.
talk about a wake-up call for my mother? But my mother unfortunately went to sleep when that happened.
She found her, yes.
Yeah, because she found her. So I mean, once again, life is always handing us the wake-up calls. What we do with it is our power.
Exactly.
And
So let's see if there's any comments. Go ahead, Jeff.
I just want to jump in. One of the other challenges about wake-up calls is people, perhaps like myself and others, who don't want to give up, who are persistent, who are looking for that other answer. And
Yeah.
not necessarily am I talking about wellness or health, but it's like I'm working on a startup, and I know it's a great idea, but I'm running into walls. So sometimes we need to reset ourselves and to reboot into the next version of where we need to go, where again, the wake up call is not that you're doing that, not that you should stop doing, but perhaps it's find a new center and find that other reboot. And like, in systems, and I worked on Wall Street, the crazy part is about wake up calls. We got a phone call in systems. Oh, you got to go to this trader's desk. His computer's not working right. So they believe in 3 R's: refer, reboot, replace, as opposed to let's fix the problem. And I sometimes go to those 3 R's when I'm help doing coaching with people or coaching startups. And rather than just replace, I'm saying, let's look at where we are. What signs are being present? Is there like real opportunity here? Do you feel it? And then how do we shift ourselves to be in the position to say yes and to receive and to optimize those businesses or the ideas so that we could realize our dreams, as opposed to just be stymied by them and frustrated by them. So there are wake-up calls which give you an idea that you're on the right track, but just move a little bit. And I find guidance like that is pretty amazing, and it comes from the oddest places. But you just, it's like if I pitch you my company and you don't get it, that's the most amazing wake-up call possible, because it means I'm not being clear, particularly if you're in my target audience of who I want to sell my product to. And so, but some people are so strong, they're denying, oh, of course they just don't hear me. But no, they just don't hear you because you're not being articulate.
Or they're not the right person to be talking to. I mean, you think about a rat in a maze, the wake up call is, oh my God, I just hit the wall. So it looks around for a space. So sometimes if it's not working out, it's trying to show you to go in a different direction.
Well, yeah, sometimes you're hitting your head against the wall, trying to, you want this, you want this, you want this, but there's a way to go around the wall. And that's happened to us many times.
Yeah, but I walked away from the wall in the music business. I was doing songs like We Are One. I'm talking about in 1979, right?
You walked away, but then books came.
Right.
Big time.
I found a different game to play. But
It's the same. It came from the same place where you wanted to share your knowledge and help people.
Right. And obviously my rat's maze got closed off on all 4 sides. So I was just like, I'm out of here. I got to go find a different piece of cheese.
It happened to me with, I had a fantasy about finding the right gallery when I was younger. Actually, my late 40s. I don't know if that's young, but that's when I started being a fashion designer, and the doors opened for that. And that was the store, Bergdorf Goodman, became my gallery. It was just like what I wanted, people to buy my art, experience my art, collect my art. And it happened in such a different way than I thought. So I had to recalibrate my vision there and jump in a new way.
I think, Amy, that's, to me, fundamentally what you're describing is like how magic works, right?
Yes.
So
Wow.
It's sort of like we can have the goal in mind or what we want to manifest or create, but if we have too much tunnel vision, or like we're wearing blinkers that it's got to be this way or it's got to be this thing, then you miss out. So then the wake up call is like, if it doesn't look exactly like you expected or wanted to, then if you miss it, then you're missing something. You're not going to get either thing. Right.
Yeah.
So I think the wake up call can often be like, take the blinders off and see what other opportunities are around you, instead of being so fixated on the wall.
Yes.
I'm a great believer in have the party on the beach now. I don't know if everybody knows that joke about the real mover and shaker who sees these fishermen in Portugal having a party on the beach, because they've come in and they have their catch and he's like, well, if you guys all organized your boats and you did this and then you owned your own trucks and you can distribute, and he goes through this whole thing about how they can make 10 times more money. And the guy says, yeah, well, what will be the outcome? He says, well, then you can have the party on the beach. The guy says, I'm having the party on the beach now. So I think you gotta enjoy yourself
Instead of making it something that
right.
I'll be happy when this happens
Yeah,
or when I
yeah.
accomplish this. Yeah. All
Right.
along the whole journey we have to embrace.
Enjoy the carrot you have instead of the one that's on the stick leading you like a donkey. So I mean that's the rule around here. We're having a good time. We have goals. What do they say? Your reach should exceed your grasp. So you're trying for stuff, but you don't drive yourself crazy.
And I mean, back to the tarot and oracles and, sharing our insights and guidance with each other. That's the best way to stay on track. I mean, it's a gift, such a gift.
Yeah, it is. I can't wait till we get to Web3 and everything is great. And I don't even have to put my clothes on in the
I don't
morning.
even understand what it is, right?
Right. And my car will fly and
Well, hey,
Web3 sounds like it's going to be a massive spider.
fly in the cartoon at least, it doesn't have to fly in. Depends upon what your metaverse is, what your reality is, right? Or where or how those things are evolving. But it's not everything will happen the way that people envision it. And I think the big thing about wake up calls, it happens at all phases of our lives. It happens when we're the baby waking up the parent, saying, "Please take care of us." It
Wow.
happens when you're where you're an adult and your kids are taking care of you. It happens when you're experiencing life in different phases at different times. Some of it is very much in your face. Other times it's more of a spiritual awakening. Other times it's where you're not realizing you're the one giving someone else a wake up call. And so there's many different phases of it, many different places. And yeah, it's obvious at times, but it's also subtle, and it's like, if you see someone with certain habits and you believe that those habits may lead to bad things happening, getting someone who you love to listen, to take care of themselves, or to at least take comfort is really, really hard. And being a caregiver is really, really hard.
It
And there's
is.
the same wake up calls, the same feelings, the same energy, the same emotion. And we're not all necessarily prepared to be the givers of those wake up calls or receive. We do our best, but we also have to find ways to find that in between where we can coexist and just process what we're being told
Yes,
or know that we have to say.
it's a good point. I mean, a lot of it is awakening to the divine or to the spiritual, to take the high road, to, nurture a higher frequency, a bigger perspective, because a lot of the things that bother us and stop us and block us are those small things. I guess fear isn't so small, but, it's self-criticism and low self-esteem and, all those things that we all have to dust off and get rid of.
She's looking straight at me when she says get rid of. You believe this? This is my wake up call. I better call the moving company.
But what you're saying too, but the wake up call is often, it can be the realization that you're not living the life that you desire, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to make yourself something else that's going to fit in better, that's going
Yes.
to be a more conventional path. And like, that's for me, my life has been a series of wake up calls.
Yes.
Right? Of like, oh, you think you're this, or you're trying to be this. Well, that's not actually what you are, and that's the long journey of how I'm a tarot reader here now and not like an orthodontist or a lawyer or something, because it was a roundabout journey of, oh, I think I can do this. That seems like a kind of
Yes.
regular, normal thing to do. And the universe goes, bang, no, you can't. You're going to go move to Japan now, or you're going to quit your job and become a tarot reader or something, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So I think oftentimes those wake up calls are a check in with yourself and with the universe. Like, am I living for me? Am I trying to be something I'm not? And am I trying to please other people? And the universe comes in and shakes it up and says, wait a minute, check in with yourself and what you really want to do. And that's not easy for people
Yeah,
to
very,
do.
very, very true. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, we all like to do that, right?
Yeah. We're
That's
checking
kind of
in with
fun,
ourselves
right?
all the time.
No, but I think it's harder when you're alone. I know that my life has gotten easier since I've been with Amy. I'm not saying everybody has to be with a partner, because when we did our book, The
But
Soulmate
a
Path,
friend or what, however,
friends.
somebody that you check in with, that you trust,
course.
that can say, oh, you're always like that, or yeah, I think you should break up, or, somebody that is your, one of your counselors.
At least you weren't looking at me when you said that.
And that's what the cards are for too. Oracle cards or tarot cards.
Yeah,
If
They're
you-
your friends.
They're your
Your
friends.
friends. Yeah.
And if you don't have, like, for me as I'm a very introverted person. Like, that's my nature. So the cards have always been for me that sounding board, or it's a space where you can explore all those feelings and wake up calls without having to necessarily explain it to someone else
Yes.
until you've made sense of it. So I think the cards can be, of course, it'd be ideal to have a trusted friend or a partner, someone you can bounce these things off of. But sometimes in our lives, we don't, even if we have that person, we don't feel like that we're ready to put that out there, ready to, so
Sure.
the cards can be that trusted friend or
Right.
that sounding board, right?
Well, we need cheerleaders for sure.
Yeah,
It's nice if
that's
the
it.
tarot can do that. Sometimes you need a real person for that.
Yeah,
You can do it.
You can
We
do
know
it.
you can
of
do it.
course, right? Yeah, of course.
Well, that's what Ask the Oracles is.
Yes,
Yeah.
we know you can all do it.
I need to. I'm getting another wake up call. I need to leave a couple
Okay.
minutes early. I apologize, but I will not hear the end of it if I don't act on this call. I act on this. I send
You
love
can
and
do
light.
it, Jeff.
Well, you're working. Get to work. You know what
I
I'm
help you
saying?
guys next week, but it'll be easier on me to get out. So, but for my own self love, I'm leaving, not because I want to, but I think I need to. So, I'll be
Okay.
back.
We'll see you next week, probably.
Absolutely, and I'll catch up. But I'm sorry, I didn't realize I'm not
Thanks,
able to triple task, whatever it's called, multitask more than 3. So it's hard.
Go for it.
But thanks, Jeff. Good to see you.
As the pandemic winds down, everyone's going to be busier. In our book, The Soulmate Path, we say, are you a tiger or are you a swan? Because the swans pretty much mate for life. I think there's a few rebels, but tigers only get together to mate. So, and each one is a valid point. There are people that want to be alone or are alone, and there are people that
Well, they come out of their cave to be with people and go back in.
right. And I think the
Right.
pandemic and the lockdowns actually if there's some good in them, it's confronted everybody to really confront themselves.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And I think the wake up calls stand out in greater relief now because things are pretty much the same if you're locked down.
By the way, speaking of tigers, it's the year of the tiger.
Yeah.
The
That's
water
right. Yeah,
tiger.
that's right.
It's an auspicious week because it's a new moon tomorrow, new moon in Aquarius. So shake up something, move stuff in your house, make unusual wishes. And then the retrograde is kind of over on the 3rd, although we say it's always worse the last day. So just be careful.
Great. Thanks for the warning there.
Well, it's like a train going backwards, and then all of a sudden it lurches and goes forward, so all the luggage falls off.
Or if you're in the dining car, all the
Everything cut.
water
Yeah.
glasses fall over.
But yeah, that'll be a relief when the retrograde is really
Yes. Okay.
We
So-
have a request from the audience if you have the time.
over. Okay.
How
A
about
song?
cards? Yes, I'd love a song. How about cards for the community before we sign
Okay, we
off?
love to do that.
That's a great
Because
way
we
to
only
sign
have 2
off.
more. Right. I figured it would be a good way to
Do a
bring the-
nice collective reading
Exactly.
because
Thank
we're
you.
sharing the space and sharing the energy. What do you got,
It
Muncie?
says communicate, analyze, and let your mind tell you how to. So I use the Michelle Marie method of doing the karma cards now.
Now I got the 4 of Hearts. That's don't cry over spilt milk. So everyone's got to be aware. I shouldn't have done this or I could have done that. It's a new ball game with the new moon. Just go into new energy and don't have any regrets.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
And what did you
Okay.
get?
I got the 9 of Cups.
Nice.
Yeah. And so a couple of things are in my mind. Nice and also wake up call of a kind. So, because it's count your blessings, wishes come true, all the beautiful things. Like be mindful of where you focus your energy because it's going to come for you, right? But as far as the wake up call, this card is like, yes, you're in such a good place. Life is good, appreciate it, but also know that you've got more to do.
And
You're not
also
done.
make
You're not done
some
yet.
good wishes for the new moon, right?
Yeah.
Because it'll come true. But then
Yes. You can get
you
your
got more
wish.
to do. That's
And
right.
we call that card wish granted in a happy way.
Love it.
My mentor, who was a wonderful tarot reader, Frank Andrews, he still is in New York City years ago. When that card would come up, he'd go, wish granted in a happy way.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
That's a great
Perfect.
way to end the. We should do. Thank you, everybody. Oh, what did you get, Michelle Marie? Which card did you get? Jupiter. That's like
Jupiter and Pisces.
that's exactly like what's going on in Lori's in the card she picked.
Yes, this can be
perfect.
expansion. Thank you so much, Lori. What a joy. you were
Oh,
to be
no,
with.
this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
And
What a
thank you,
joy.
everyone, for joining us.
Because if it's Monday, it's time for
Ask the oracles.
The third thumb is for Zane.
That's right.